Let's see if this audio is working. It seems to be. All right. Probably just here for a few seconds. I'm going to try jumping in and jumping out, which I know is not the coolest, but I'm going to just, experiment with doing that. Just because I haven't streamed a lot of code writing in a while. So it just takes a bit to, it's kind of a different format from what I usually do. So it takes a minute to get used to it and get used to writing code in this way. So I should be able to send a message to the Haskell backend. I don't love the latency, but I think that part of the latency might be the fact that gRPC curl, I guess, don't know how you pronounce it, but is reading protos from disk, and that not all of the latency is in the implementation. I did check that the latency is not in the database call itself, but beyond that, I don't know. I haven't looked at the latency stats, and we're not going to, or at least nothing at this point is optimized. So the latency really could be anywhere, but it's maybe about 4 seconds of latency. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 from this machine, 6 from my laptop, or rather 5 or 6 from this machine, about 4 from my laptop, which may be a difference in disk speed or something else. Okay. Now, next steps. Let me check my to-do list here. Okay, so I think the next step is to get a Haskell service that is listening for jobs that need to be downloaded and actually downloads the jobs. So I'm using wget to just download things. I could do this all in bash and just have the bash do the wget call, but I already wrote it up in Haskell. It's got some tests and stuff, and the main reason for any of this is to just practice Haskell and working with the Haskell stack, so I might as well persist with that. But I don't know what I think that to do listen notify stuff in Haskell, I need to have another library. So let's double check that. Haskell notifications, listen notify support for Haskell. And hopefully it's straightforward. All right, so given a Haskell connection and a channel, it sends a listen command to the database. Once the connection sends the listen command, the server registers its interest in the channel. Hence, it's important to keep track of which connection was used to open the listen command. So here's an example. We're going to acquire, and then I don't know what DB or error is. I guess that's just the name of the variable we gave it. So we're doing it's sending back an either, whatchamacallit, and if we get a DB, we do let channel to listen be, we're going to take the sample channel. We're going to take the string sample channel, convert it to a PG identifier. I don't know where that function came from. Maybe one of these imports. And then we're going to listen on that channel. And we're going to wait for notifications. Passing in this thing that looks like a lambda, I guess. So a channel and a blank. Given a channel and a blank, I think we're going to print just got notification on channel. I forget what this symbol is. And we're passing in the database. And if we don't get a right DB, then we got a left something or other. We're going to die. I've been using exit 1, but maybe die is built into Haskell. There's a die thing here. Seems to be from base system exit. I don't know if I have GACI. No, okay. All right, I can try just running die. Okay, at any rate, we'll have to do something like this. I suppose in wait for notifications, we essentially will have a listener. So wait for notifications. The first thing it takes is a callback function to handle incoming notifications. It takes 2 byte strings and does some IO. That's what the callback does. And this wait for notification functions takes a connection. Why does it take 2 byte strings? So the first one is the channel. Maybe the second one is the something. Like some information about what the what the notification was. Now, is this the same? I don't think this is the same developer. Here, Nikita Volkov. I want to see what all of the things are. We have Haskell transaction, dynamic statements, cursor query, cursor transaction, Haskell pool, Haskell migration, listen, notify. And it links to 2 different implementations. So how do I know which one to do? We have awkward squad. This was updated 4 months ago last year. 7 stars. This is 13 stars. 8 months ago, 4 years ago. I don't know. I don't know what I prefer. Let's see what, I'm pretty sure that Postgres uses Haskell. I wonder if they use one of these libraries. You have Haskell pool, Haskell transaction, Haskell notifications. So they're using Haskell notifications. And I think this is a pretty serious project. So I guess I can trust their judgment for now. All right. So we have some tests. I don't know if we have any examples. I feel like Haskell people should do more tests and do more examples, because otherwise it seems like they're not really necessarily using their own libraries, and they're not going to get a sense for what it's like to use them. But for example, it doesn't even tell me what the callback takes. The message handler passed as first argument needs 2 parameters, channel and payload. See the example of handling notification on a separate thread. What example? Oh, okay. So we have notification handler. which is here. And we're going to do void async to print handle payload and whatever this is. Is this just string concatenation? I don't think so, is it? It's a semigroup, like pairing operation. But what's the advantage of using it? I don't know. Okay, so I guess here it really just is string concatenation, which must be the semigroup operation. And the thing that causes it to run on another thread is async. This must be the standard way to do async programming in Haskell, I would guess. So they use it in the gRPC Haskell benchmark. I don't know if they really need it for anything else here. They have it for a client example. What are they using async for? So this is some client thing. I think it's sending and receiving on different threads. The server has like async ability, but I think that might be through the C++ code. Okay, at any rate, it seems like this is the way to go, Haskell async. So, hey, what WGAFA? So I guess this is, I don't know how the symbol is pronounced, but it's mappend or mapend from semigroup class. Wait, so why do people use it as opposed to ++ for strings? Is it just so that the string concatenation is more consistent with other operations, or is there some like performance gain? This looks fun. Async 08 is really just a subset of monads and do notation for imperative languages. So working against a class interface, you don't really need to memorize what concatenation for other types are. For example, it'll work with string, text, sum, and other types. Okay. Yeah, that's useful. I think that's my... There's a tension here because that seems like the thing I would naturally like to do, but I also... the more I use kind of fancy stuff like that, the more I risk writing code that makes sense now, but in 6 months won't make any sense to me because I'll forget what all the stuff is. But I think it makes sense for me to get used to it and at least play around enough to figure out like which kind of like mathy notation stuff is helpful versus what obscures things more than it helps. Okay, that's super helpful. Thank you so much. Okay, and so with the basic type is async. So here's the high-level API. What's the low-level API? So this is, do not use this code in production. It has a flaw explained below. So this is like do async get URL, blah, blah, blah. And in contrast with async, this code has a problem. It fulfills property 1, which we don't know what that is, but it's above, in that an exception arising from get URL will be rethrown by wait, but it does not fulfill property 2. Consider the case when wait throws an exception. Then the second wait will not happen, and the second async may be left running in the background, possibly indefinitely. With async is like async, except that the async is automatically killed using uninterruptible cancel if the enclosing IO operation returns before it has completed. All right, that sounds like that's what I should do. So this is about as trivial as you can get, I think, which is nice for Haskell. Okay. Where's my real history? What's going on here? All right. So I have this wget thing. I don't think wget is really doing anything. Let's give it a main function. What has a main function? Server? I don't remember what a main function looks like. It's just main IO. I probably have to make sure that the module name is correct. This is a module. And I guess there's something about main and modules. Can a module not have a main? To write or to not write module main. Haskell 98 specification says that the Haskell 98 specification says that the entry point of a program, namely function main, should reside in a module called main by convention. However, even if you don't write module main, where at the top of the file you write main in, the source code compiles and seems working correct when you're using GHC. All right. So when you don't specify a header, it assumes that you're in main. Here I have said that I'm in a different module called wget. And I assume that I can't have a main function. I guess I can't have an executable module. So I'll have to rename it. But I'll just to be sure, I'll ask ChatGPT. In Haskell, can a non-main module have an entry point? Okay, basically, no, I can't do that. All right, so I guess I'll do this. I don't know where I'm using wget. Really nowhere. Didn't I have a test for this? So the SQL library depends on wget, and that's about it. But why does the SQL library? That's a little bit weird. Who wrote this stuff? I think I did that because I had no other better structure, and like download job is part of SQL, which it really shouldn't be. So now is a chance for me to correct this. Why didn't I make download job be part of the wget thing? Let's try this side approach and see if it blocks my screen less. Okay, now Let me do this. Not that. Can I get like a transparent chat? All right. Seems like I have to do a little bit of work to make that happen, which I'm not going to do. I'll move this just off to the side for now. Okay. So download job takes a fetch job and calls download page or die. And maybe the reason I put it in the SQL module is because it depends on both SQL and wget. But that will be the case if I just make a new binary, which I will call wgetter. So this, I think this new binary is going to do all of the coordination of the fetching, and once something is fetched, of sending it off for cleaning, whether that is the like browser readability stuff that monkeys around with the HTML DOM, or things like processing PDF files, which might need to be OCR'd. So this is going to kind of like handle all of that stuff. What is a good name for that? I don't know. I don't want to call it a controller. It's not really a crawler. All right. Thanks, the big gaffa. I think that a fetcher. Maybe crawler. Scraper. I think of a crawler as something that indexes. And this is not a thing that indexes. It's not crawling in the sense of like a spider crawling on a web. I call it fetch and clean, which is a terrible name, but I have to give it some name. And then I'll put download job here. Although, do I test it here? The oh, hang on. I just realized something. I have to do. I made tags, but I made them for. It included too many directories, including like all the Bazel output directories. So let's see if I can redo the tags from my other machine, excluding all the appropriate directories. All right, that's running. So it's only used here, so I can just grab it and move it to the new file. And this will not have a module name because it will be a binary. And we can tell the bill file that it's going to be a binary. Node readability is not a thing. We'll just take this over. And here, let's look at what we did with node. This is some stuff that I had like spec'd out for calling scripts. You can delete it. How do I delete in Tremax? Should just be able to press D, right? Okay. So I don't actually know if I need any of these dependencies, but they're here now. And I guess if I don't, I can remove them later. Okay, and then from wget, I have this stuff. Why do I have this stuff? You know what? It's just because I copied the main file, right? Okay. I just wanted to know what the types of main were. I don't think, you know what? I do need all this stuff. Okay, so I need to get the string. I could move the Postgres string stuff into a library if I were inclined, but I'm not inclined. And here, instead of calling lector service server with the handlers and the connection, I'm going to call something else. What am I going to call? I don't know. Something with listen notify. So we've already acquired. Let's take this, the notification handler. I guess we might as well import all of these. I do see that die is explicitly imported. In fact, let's grab this whole thing. And what is void? So this does void async do. I'm told that I'm not supposed to use async. I'm supposed to use with async. I don't know what void is doing here. Maybe it's doing some sort of wait. Control monad. Void value discards or ignores the result of an evaluation, such as the return value of an IO option. Okay, so that's void here. I think we have control monad void, which is here. Okay. Okay, so if you call void on just 3, which is a maybe int, you get a just of nothing. Okay. So I think it's just basically there to make the types match up. Because we need to do I of nothing. Async, I guess, is going to return possibly some sort of future. Something like a future. It's going to return IO async of A, where async is some type that is future-like, an asynchronous action spawned by async or with async. Okay, so I might still need void. Maybe I'll keep it around. But we're going to use with async. And how are we going to do that? So with async takes an IO of A and an async, I guess, action that returns an IO of B, and it returns the IO of B. Spawn an asynchronous action in a separate thread and pass its async handle to the supplied function. When the function returns or throws an exception, uninterruptible cancel is called on the async. So with async action inner equals mask restore do. I don't know what mask is about. I think mask I've seen before, but I forget what it is. We'll set the result of async restore action to A, and then we're going to call it down here. This is the implementation. And this finally uninterruptible cancel, I guess, is what makes it better than the regular async. Forget what mask does. Action is IO of A. Inner is this thing. And I'm not sure how to interpret restore. But basically, we're going to get the A by calling this the async thing. And then call I guess the types all match up. I guess that's all fine. All right. But that's not how I want to. There's a nicer example of how to call it. Here, maybe? No? Yeah. So with async, and the example here was get URL. So to fetch two web pages at the same time. With async get URL 1. Okay, so this is kind of nesting the functions together. Is there a better? It's a little bit ugly. What you want is something that looks more like this, that does the canceling thing. Is there something kind of like an async monad? All right. I guess I only just need one thing, so it doesn't really matter. So we'll do something like with async something do. The something is the function, and then I'm not really sure how to think about what to put at the end. I guess if I'm just doing one, I can just I should be able to use async without the with async. Because it seems like the main problem is that if I use two asyncs, it's like the second one that keeps going. If the first one fails, that's the problem. So if I only have one, maybe it's fine. The second async here. So the high-level utilities covers the most common high-level objectives, including waiting for two results, waiting for many results, like map concurrently and for concurrently, waiting for the first of two results, as in a race, and waiting for arbitrary nestings of all of n in the first of n. Async's high-level API spawns lexically scoped threads, ensuring the following key properties: no exception is swallowed, and no thread is leaked. So I guess I feel like maybe it's fair game to just use async without with async. But it seems like bad hygiene. And so where's the type of with async again? It's going to take some stuff, and we have this $sign here. So I guess that just means that this is all grouped. With talker async. So talker is a thing that takes a string and prints some stuff out and has some delay. And it's going to take a lambda async 2. I take it back. This is a pretty obnoxious API. So it'll take a async 2 and call async to get a third async thing. And then we're going to pull async 3, etc. And so here they're canceling async 1. I don't know what async 2 is here. Who's calling with async 2? I'm guessing that somehow it's the library that's calling it. I'll ask tell me about the use of with async in Haskell versus using async directly. Async function is used to start a computation concurrently, returning an async handle immediately. The handle can then be used to control or retrieve the result of the computation. Okay, so you wait on it. I don't know if it's wait or await, but some version of that. With async, you are responsible for ensuring that resources are cleaned up, particularly if an exception occurs. With async, on the other hand, provides a safer, more idiomatic way to manage asynchronous tasks by automatically cleaning up resources when they are no longer needed. It takes a computation and a continuation function as its arguments. Cool. It takes a computation and a continuation function as its arguments. So we need the continuation function. and it returns that the computation is canceled if it ensures that the computation is canceled if an exception occurs in the main program or when it's no longer required. With async function, follows a similar pattern to bracket, a well-known Haskell pattern for resource management. Okay, so that's something that I'm not familiar with. Bracket, I've seen it before, but I haven't used it or don't really remember what it's about, but I think it's a little bit like with resources in other languages. So with async, some computation, and then here's the, I guess, continuation, which has some type. The type is it takes an async of A and it returns an IO of B, such as do result, wait for A, and it'll print the result. In this example with async starts some computation concurrently and provides the async handle A to the continuation function. Okay, so the thing here, I was wondering who provided it, and the answer is that with async is giving it, and we can probably see that in the source code. This is the what are they calling the async handle? The async handle is called action, and inner is the continuation, I guess. And so whatever this is, I guess we're going to call the async blah, blah, blah. Some computation concurrently. So this is some computation, action. Oh, no. The action is not the async handle. Action is some computation. We're going to call it, get the async handle back, which is A. And then we're passing that A to inner. So execute starts some computation concurrently provides the async handle A to the continuation function. When the continuation finishes, whether successfully or due to an exception, with async automatically cancels the computation associated with the handle A. Okay, so so some computation is the thing that gets canceled. But that seems like the opposite of what they were telling me in here. When the first wait throws an exception, the second wait will not happen, and the second async may be left running in the background, possibly indefinitely. So it must cancel both. No, it cancels A, uninterruptible cancel. Yeah, I'm not sure. So exception safety, resource management. Okay. Yes, I do, I guess, want it to be automatically cleaned up. So we'll do that. And then what is my sum computation? Why don't we just give this function to ChatGPT and tell it to use with async? Modify this to use with async. So they say void with async do this stuff, and then a trivial continuation. with async taste, the continuation function, we're just going to return does nothing. With the async handle, this lets with async manage the lifecycle of the task while effectively ignoring the handle. So what are some other useful things we can do with the handle instead of like a trivial continuation function? What's it called? Yeah, trivial. You can wait for the result. I guess I don't really want to. You can cancel the task. All right, we'll try this. I'm not really positive it's better, but maybe it's better because it'll do cancel-y things. All right, and here they have their main function. And I don't know if there's any meaning or importance to the name of the channel, so we'll call it fetch and clean, something like that. And then they call wait for notifications. DB is what they called the connection, I hope. Acquire. It's the result of acquire, right? All right, let's see if that, first of all, builds. Which I'm going to guess it doesn't. And then while it's doing that, we need to actually do something with the message we get back. So I have some job somewhere, JavaScript stuff that is doing the listen and notify stuff. Somewhere. So on notification, we're going to log the message. Okay, so I think the way that I set it up is I've listened for a specific notification, and the payload doesn't actually matter. But the new task notification is now not a good name. So let's call this something else. Let's call this readability task notification and head over to the database. And right now, the way it's set up is it's going, I guess, no, yeah. When there's a new pending task, it'll send the readability notification. But we also want this to be a little bit more, have a little bit more structure. We'll call this a fetch task notification. And what is the status? So we have pending needs processing, processing complete, completed, failed. So I think that it should be sufficient to, instead of saying when new status is it's kind of an insane way to architecture stuff, but I'm playing fast and loose. I don't think this will scale, but it should at least work. Okay, so the insert task insert trigger. I think this should be sufficient. So fetch will be when the task is pending, and the readability will be when the status is needs processing. And I don't know how it goes in SQL. And so this would happen during an update rather than an insert. I'm not sure that this syntax is correct. And instead of notify new task, it'll be notify new readability task. Is this Postgres SQL statement correct? If not, fix it. Now, there's a slight syntax issue in the when clause. Doesn't use parentheses around the condition. Oh, you told me before it did. So I'll just tell it to fix all the issues. Some stuff about not quoted identifiers. The function notify new task is called. Yeah. Okay. So some of this is just like cleanup, and some of it seems to be legitimate issues. So let's grab it and put it here. Hopefully that's more or less fine. And now we can get back to Haskell. Okay, we have parse error on input. What parse error? Oh, it's because it, maybe because this is indented. It says it needs, I think, type applications for the proto stuff. And I need to import this. Control concurrent async. And I need to add Haskell notifications as a dependency. So let's do that. I think I need to add them to the workspace file. What is it? Haskell notifications. And I have async here. Is that enough? Okay, so I need to tell it that it's also dependent on Haskell and not just Haskell notifications. Something about byte strings. Do I need to include it? And I need wait, why do I need this pack thing and they don't? Oh, because they have the string literal, they're not assembling it. I also don't have I'd have to import this, not import, but copy this assemble function, which I don't think is really necessary. Here's what I want to do. I'll just have the AIs tell me how to code this properly. And I guess I'll start a new chat. I'll say fix up this Haskell code so that I combine the environment variables in an idiomatic way. I guess Haskell idiomatic way. And ideally, so I don't have to combine to call pack. I have a feeling there must be a way of doing this that's not so ugly. So fmap and mconcat. That's not what I want. I don't like it. Let's see if let's see if the more up-to-date model can do it better. I'd like to get rid of all helper functions like pack, toText, etc. I'd like to ideally use an API that handles the conversions automatically behind the scenes. Maybe there's a standard Haskell string conversion guide. What? That's terrible. You don't know what you're talking about. ChatGPT. Okay. So what if I just try this operator? Is there string interpolation? Oh, printf. Something like this. So that's more or less the string. And then I pass it a bunch of arguments. I guess it's like variable arguments. Except these are all maybes. The lookup env. So we have this lift either thing. Let's see what a new ChatGPT says. Nope. Okay, so let's just try compiling this and see where the errors are. Okay, so there is this issue here with the code that I copied. I'm wondering if they have something like overloaded strings. Well, no. Yes, they've turned on, it looks like they've turned on overloaded strings for everything. So there's kind of this, the source code has a hidden dependency. So let's enable overloaded strings. Things compiled. Can I do this? Should be able to. Maybe I just need to group those better. Yeah. Okay, but I think that I cannot do this. Because one is a maybe. So it can't match expected type string and got maybe string. But what if I do just hi with password? That will fail with the call to put string, but I'm curious if this combinator, I don't know if that's is a combinator, but in the second argument of $. So that seems good. So what I need is a way to unmaybeify a string which has a term. There's a word for it. I forget what it is. So WCAFA mentioned M append. Let's look up M. I guess the M is for monad. Do we have Hugel? So, oh, for monoid. Okay. So, but what about We have this monad plus. So what I want is a thing that takes two. No, I think it takes a maybe string and returns IO of nothing. How about just returns a string? From just force maybe. So I should pattern match. Yeah, I think pattern match. But also, didn't I tell this window to stay on top? I think pattern matching is the way to go. I have to give it the chance to fail because some of these environment variables will legitimately not be populated. So I forget the syntax of this should just be a maybe string. So I think this is just a let. And then hey, what's up, Emacs? What are you doing? Hello, Akram. So this should be a maybe string, and then I just don't want to have like a bunch of pattern matches all in a row in the main function. I guess it's not the end of the world. It's just, I guess it's fine. That's how Go programmers live every day, isn't it? But at least, but like in Haskell, they keep you keep accumulating white space, which is a little bit annoying. But what do I want to do if one of the environment variables is not set? I want to, I think, fail. So I could do pattern matching. I guess that this like diamond operator has no choice but to return nothing if any of the things is nothing, right? I don't know what else it would do. So die takes a maybe die takes an argument like a string. Yeah, panic and print an error message really. So this is fine. Let me see if there's a is there a graceful way to terminate a so get a Haskell function in main. I want to fail if a maybe string is not populated. I'd like to not use case analysis. Is there a slicker way of failing similar to using map left die oh no for an either. I'm using the O1 preview, which is extremely slow. And frankly, not much better for most tasks than generic ChatGPT 4. All right, I could just use a case analysis. But I'll ask it in a new chat. Maybe or from maybe. Oh. Yeah, that's what I want. Maybe. But how does it go? Okay, so that seems successful. I guess I already have maybe in my environment. Is it in base? It's somewhere. All right. Let's verify that this does what I want it to by actually running it instead of just building it. Cool. Okay, so now I have this ability to combine maybes, which I didn't have before. But I really want to use string interpolation, I guess, or rather, printf. Is there like a printf with maybe? I guess it doesn't matter that much. But the string should be like it's trying to use my existing context, which is not what I wanted to do. I don't like having to start a new chat every time because then I end up with this huge history of chats where a lot of chats are just like the same chat from before that should be under the same heading, but I had to start over. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Okay. So we'll just do the more awkward version. I'm guessing I can't do this. I can't use this, what is it, append on a regular string and a maybe string. In fact, I'm pretty sure I already tested that. Cool. Although it seems like maybe this these environment variables aren't populated. So this is not doing what I thought it was. It's not returning nothing if the string is not populated. Yes, exactly. I want to concatenate strings that are under a maybe type. So let's go back to Hugel. I'm sure wGAFA has a better solution for me. But it seems like that operator does almost what I wanted to, except the failure condition is it concatenates the empty string. We have this first just thing, or else. What's the notation for like a general monad? Is it lowercase m? So what is m append? What is there a guarantee? You give a default value to return for the empty. I could. I don't want a default value though. Actually, I just want it to fail. I could just give up. In fact, I think I'm going to give up and just use this function, which has from maybes. I could replace lookup env with a failure, a more fail-oriented lookup env, which might already exist. What if there's a string to IO of string? What if there's a string to either? No. But let's take. I'll take a look at the lookup env anyway. Set env, unset env, get executable path, get rx executable path. Okay. I don't know why I'm focusing so much on this, just because I'm just curious if I can do something. I like to know what the space of possibilities are. It's not actually important at all to optimize this. All right, and so I need to import this car8 thing. I think that's the original thing that I balked at. I didn't want to have to import all of the string manipulation stuff. I guess that instead of put string line and then exiting failure, I can just call die, which is, I think, fundamentally the same thing. And here, my connection is called con. I'm guessing I have to actually update the build file. Okay, now it's failing to connect. I don't know why I didn't have to import maybe. Maybe it's in base or something. Okay, so that at least is kind of starting to work. It should build. It just fails at runtime because I don't have a database running. And so in theory, this will call like handle payload. But what do I actually want it to do? I think in the background, I want it to actually fetch the job, which is a thing that's here. We've got this download job. And I don't think I'm telling it where to download stuff. I need to have type applications. I suspect I probably also need data kinds. I forget exactly why I have data kinds enabled. And I need to update the build file. Why? This is odd. I thought that it was the job proto that had the URL field. So it says that oh no, it's PJ field that's not exposed. Yeah, I see. It's not the proto field I need. It's the proto lens library. And I do need data kinds. And I need to import my own library. Oh no. And I need data text. Okay, so that at least compiles. I haven't called download job, and I don't know what download job is even doing, because download page or die, where is it going to download it? I think I told it to find a, I think I told it to create a folder structure based on the URL, which seemed reasonable at the time. That's a good way to it's a good way to have a structure where you can look up the page based on the URL. Like if you were building archive.org, that would be a good structure. But it doesn't necessarily behave nicely with respect to redirects, because you have to figure out, do you write it in the directory that the user requested, or do you write it in the directory post redirect? And if it's not post redirect, then how do you handle web pages that have a lot of redirects? So after doing this initial implementation, I decided that I will expect a directory structure that looks like the number of the fetch job, followed by just like an index.html file. And so I guess I need to rewrite this. So download page is this directory. So am I actually using download page or die anywhere other than here? I don't think so. So I think I just need to pass it a directory as a string. Why not? I can get rid of parse domain name URL. And whatever URL parsing library I was using. In fact, these or die and or errors are really just there to handle the error associated with parsing. And I'm not really sure what happens here. So we have does directory exist? And if it doesn't exist, then we create it. But I don't know what happens with the error. Maybe an error is thrown. This operation may fail with what is permission error. So there's some sort of error stuff. I don't know how to handle errors in Haskell. But we'll ignore it for now. Okay, so download page, we'll just create the directory if it doesn't exist, which seems to be the behavior that I want. That's fine with me. And what? That's all. Really? We're going to download job is we're going to show the job. I guess that's fine. We're going to get the URL. We should also get the job ID. assume that's how you get the I assume that's how you get the ID. And then we're going to call download page with the URL like that. Oopsies. With the URL like that. And we're also going to pass it the directory that we get by taking the ID, and turning it into a string, which I assume you can do by show. Maybe you can't do that by show. But I have to have a way of piping a working directory into this script, which conventionally you would do with a command line argument that you can access from anywhere, like a command line flag. But because this is Haskell, it seems like I would need to propagate that flag all the way down through every function, which is pretty obnoxious. I could try something like lookup env and fail. But for now, maybe I'll just hard code the working directory. It's going to run in a container. That's fine. And then the other thing I think I assumed was that after we download the page, I'll have like a JSON document that has some information. What is the information? I think maybe like just the original URL. Sounds like a job for the reader monad. Ooh, I don't know anything about the reader monad. I'll look at that in just a second. May not jump too pro. Okay, so cool. Thank you so much for helping and for hanging out. It's nice to have people hang out when you're coding. I really appreciate it. Okay, so here's some HTML file path is what JavaScript is expecting. JavaScript is the next stage I'm handing it off to. I'm calling it article.html, and we have some metadata file. And I think the metadata file just has one thing in it. At least we're using it here. We're getting the URL here. That's just me being lazy so that I don't have to. I'm using the file system as a kind of inter-process communication with between Haskell and JavaScript. I could use the database for that communication, and there's no real reason I'm doing one or the other. But this should be fine to do. I just have to figure out how to create a JSON document. Let me see what I decided the workspace was going to be named. I think I can check it here on another computer. It's just workspace in. Okay, so this is going to download. Hopefully it's not going to fail. This might throw an error, but if it doesn't, then we'll assume that we've downloaded this thing. And I want actually wget to I don't know what I think the P might be the thing that names it. I'll just ask ChatGPT what the wget command line is. Sounds like O-O, uppercase O. Awesome. I'm not quite sure this is exactly right, but that's at least in the right direction. We're passing -O article and then P the directory. Let's try this. Okay. I just need to append the directory to the file name. No problem. Maybe that'll work. There's probably some directory combine function that like takes care of slashes automatically. But Take directory, take file name. This will be fine for now. Okay, so we're just doing string concatenation everywhere. It's not the best, but I don't think there's really a more sensible way to do it. Is file path just a string? Yeah. Okay, so now we've got this. It's more or less going in the right direction, or right directory rather. What did I want to do? I wanted to have a JSON file, and wgaf was mentioning the reader monad. What is the purpose of the reader monad? Don't be scared. Oh, you can read from the environment. Is that the idea? So this thing has a reader of game position. Or no, it returns a reader of game position. Perhaps the most classic use case is implementing interpreters. So it seems like reader monad is for reading variables from a shared environment. That seems like something I should, I will probably want to use once I add a dependency on the environment variable. But I think now I just needed to write some basic JSON. So I'll tell ChatGPT to write it for me. Write a Haskell function that takes a string, a URL as a string, and creates a JSON object that has the key, I guess, that looks like the obvious thing. I'm tempted to just use string interpolation. In fact, I think I'm just going to. I can add ASON support if I need it later. So I don't know how single and double quotes work, but maybe this will work. take this data text URL thing and just have it be a regular old URL. Something like that. Although, I now have to worry about things like URL encoding. So okay. I think it's probably worth, in that case, actually using JSON, or rather ASON. I don't know if I have to do lazy. Let's try text. And then I need to write this thing to a file. And I'll ask why byte string lazy as opposed to other stringy things. So lazy is especially useful for working with large data sets or files. Yeah, but this is not that. All right, I'll try to avoid using lazy, but we'll see if it even compiles. Okay, main thing is write file, right? Yeah, seems to really want this lazy bytestring thing. Wait, what? Okay, so there's an issue with the ID. It's possible I called it something else, or it's possible there's some other sort of more subtle type error. Job ID. Okay, well, that at least compiles. What am I going to do with this metadata string? So I'm going to write it to the I'm going to write it to the file, the thingy. And ChatGPT told me how to do that. All right, I think I'm almost done. If this compiles, I'll go test this out on the infrastructure. I don't know if I want to. It's hard to figure out how to unit test all of these things that have I/O in them. There's probably a better way to break it up so that it's testable. And so there's a encode object. So I don't need this. Where clause is fine. This metadata string I don't need. What? No instance from to.json to JSON. I think that may be because in the first argument, namely URL, and the second argument, namely, arising from the use of this thing. And I'm wondering if that's because it's clashing with the field URL. Ambiguous type. Let's try calling this something else. So it's variable not in scope. I guess the stuff from up here is not in scope down here. So I guess I just have to pass it to the argument. All right, and that compiles. I think that's fine to leave it off. I don't, like I just said, I think I don't know how to unit test this given all the Postgres dependencies and the IO stuff. So unfortunately, that means but the easiest thing to do is to test it on test infrastructure that's running an actual Postgres instance and so on and so forth. So I guess that's what we'll do. Just verify that we want all of these changes. And what's a good commit message? How about initial implementation of listen, Haskell listen. All right, that's all.